Gosh, what an absolutely massive play to start the game.
Is he going to get the one shot? He gets the one hit KO!
Do little musical intro. Meow, meow, meow. Do. That's copyright.
Oh.
Of the song that doesn't have copyright. All right, hey everybody, welcome back to another installation of Pokemon Mailbox.
Yo.
Today we have Alex Dempy joining us today. He is the Oregon Regional Champion. I heard he beat a really bad player in the finals though, so you know you must suck.
Yeah.
Yeah, he only lost one time that whole tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's all luck, no skill.
So this guy's team.
Yeah.
Not his team.
Oh yeah, something I had built on. Yeah. A team I had built for YouTube, someone had used, and then beat us both with it. But then we made top cut, and he didn't. So
that's true.
All's fair.
Sorry that.
In Pokemon and Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we have 10 more questions for you guys. Wait, let me check. 10. Okay, great. Some of these are really tough, so I had to call in an expert opinion. Stump, who's basically been here. He's been here the whole time.
I've been
he
around
knows
the block.
everything. He 2
or 3 times.
So we're gonna give this a shot, and I might have to defer some of these to Stump because he probably has more Pokemon knowledge than I do. That's probably pretty true.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's pretty true.
Except for in-game stuff.
I recently quashed into my eject button Amoongus, so yeah, that's how good I am. First question of the day comes from a guy named Cameron, or a girl. I think it's a guy's name. Most guys are Cameron. He asks, you've used a lot of interesting teams and strategies throughout your videos on YouTube, but what team have you had the most fun with and why? That's a really good question, Cameron. Most fun with team. I really like... Okay, so recently, I'm sure you guys have seen the Mantike video. Mantike, Sylveon. Big fan of those two. Mantike's so goddamn adorable.
Yeah.
But,
And super strong.
something not so recent. I don't know. What did I used to use?
Kira Ape, right?
Yeah. That one's really fun. That was 2010.
Mm-hmm.
That was... And then Nugget Bridge had a tournament. That was 2010. Not recently, like a year ago, and I used that again. So Giratina, Infernape. I talked about that a little bit last video. And, the Rotom Flex. You remember that?
The balloon Rotom?
Yeah, air balloon Rotom flying. And I was on...
Flex.
We were on Twitch, actually, and I beat the German national champion with air balloon Rotom flying. Whatever. I don't even know what it's called. And the other good team. It's in my Twitch description. I have a hyperlink saved to it because it's my favorite battle of all time. So that team was really good. I don't remember what was on it. No, it was great. It was a great team. So the team was...
Garbage. The team was garbage.
Florges,
Double
Lapras, Double Ghost, and Sableye, Aegislash, Charizard X, and Rotom Flying. And I was playing against German national champion with his national champion team, except for he was using Rotom Wash instead of Rotom Heat. Mm-hmm. And... man, that was a great battle. I'm going to link that so you guys can check that out. That was just a fantastic battle. So that's probably one of my favorites.
Woo.
Great question, Cameron. Thank you so much. Next question comes from John. John asks, when building your teams, how do you know what Pokemon to have in a team together? I always seem to have trouble building them, and when I think I have a good team, I go on Battle Spot and go and get absolutely owned. Help. Stump. How do you build a good team? You're not doing that right now.
What is
there
that?
You go.
Personally, when I build a team, it's I kind of like to have some synergy between my own teammates. Like that's always a good thing to have. But I actually kind of look at what's being used more often at the time and try to counter them. Like Kangaskhan, Mega Kangaskhan, Landorus, T, Sylveon, stuff like that. I know I'm going to run into, so I take a couple bonds that I think are going to take care of those. And then if they don't work well together, then I edit it around. You can always add and drop Pokemon when you're testing. So I don't know. Identify what things are the biggest threats and then put in what you need to beat those threats is what I do, rather than saying Empoleon and Landorus have perfect switching synergy.
Which they do.
Which they do, because I used them. It's called DPL Special. It's pretty fantastic.
DPL Special.
But maybe, Empoleon isn't exactly the greatest Pokemon to use. So if I traded that out with a Suicune, it does basically the same thing, but with Tailwind support and Ice Beam and Scald. It does all the same thing that Empoleon does. So you just gotta kind of build and then edit. It's a long process, but it works out in the end.
And if you're going to Earthquake, make sure stuff on your team levitates.
Yeah.
Which I don't do, ever.
Ever.
Yeah, that's... So, pretty good answer. So, mostly reactionary build against what's popular, and not so much the individual Pokemon themselves, but like, Sylveon sucks. All right. Poison Punch, Machamp, Choice Band. That's how I team build. All right, next. Tallies. Love. Heart. Something. What is the best way to balance a Trick Room team? I'm really fond of Mega Abomasnow and wish to use it. However, I don't want to be screwed when Trick Room ends. What should I consider when I build this kind of team? It's a really good question, Tallies, and that's a very common issue people run into when running Trick Room. A lot of things can go wrong when you're running Trick Room, especially if your opponent carries something like an Amoonguss, which I think I have on 99% of my teams, to try to stall out Trick Room so they can get their Speedy Mons back onto the field. The most successful Trick Room teams I've ever seen, they all carry some sort of fast Mon to deal with outside of Trick Room. A lot of times, like a Hydreigon or something, a lot of people will opt to now use Talonflame because you have priority Brave Bird, and you can use that outside of Trick Room, inside of Trick Room. So don't go... It very, very rarely does a full Trick Room team end up like working really, really well. You kind of want like a half and half team, or at least you want some kind of option that as Trick Room is ending, you're going to be able to do something. So go ahead, put on that Mega Abomasnow you love. Put on your Trick Room. Yeah, Trick Room Center, Jellicent next to it's pretty good.
Next to it.
All that sort of stuff, but make sure you have something that's either going to... Yeah, don't be all full Trick Room, is what I would recommend.
Thunderwave is always pretty good, too.
Oh, yeah, you can have Thunderwave on something, so when you come out, you can, like, slow them down or whatever, and then, yeah. So good stuff like that, and then you'll be faster, because the speed game is really essential in Pokemon. Next question from Lil Wayhoo, who's been here forever. So thanks, Lil Wayhoo. You's a champ. Do you think that Mega Kangaskhan will dominate VGC 2015? Because, it's pretty good. Stomp won Oregon with Mega Kangaskhan. I won Nationals with Mega Kangaskhan. In my opinion, Mega Kangaskhan is the best Mega. It doesn't dominate right now as hard as it did last year, but I still personally think it's fantastic. That's my personal. I mean, you see it on a lot of my teams in Fight for First. It carries a lot of my bad teams. What about you?
Yes. It's the best Pokemon in the game.
It's got one weakness, great defenses. It hits with a Choice Band.
You can put it on any team. It's one of those Pokemon I guess the thing that's most close to it right now is probably like Mega Salamence and Mega Metagross. But the thing is, you need support for those Pokemon. Kangaskhan can function on its own in any scenario. Like, there's hardly ever a game, unless you're up against like Mono Ghost or something like that, there's literally almost never good enough reason to not bring Kangaskhan. Like, you can bring it in any scenario.
It's got Scrappy, so it can still hit you if you're Ghost. It can learn Crunch if you want. It's got Priority and Sucker Punch.
Good speed tier.
It's got something powerful in Double Edge. It's a huge move. It's got one weakness. That monster, that thing's crazy. You haven't seen a Pokemon dominate so hard.
Ever.
Yeah, basically
Closest
ever.
thing, 2010 Kyogre.
Yeah. So I still think it'll be really good, and you can probably make it work. I ran a team on Showdown one time that was purposely all 6 Pokemon were supposed to beat Mega Kangaskhan, and people still brought it against me and beat me sometimes. So that's all I'm saying. That was back in 2014. 2015 is a little different, but I still think it's going to be really, really good.
Yep.
Next question comes from Matthew, and he asks, now that the Hidden Ability Unova starters are being released as events in Europe, North America, and Australia, what kind of set should we be looking at? Would the extra speed on a Timid Contrary Superior outplay a Modest one, or will the extra special attack make it a VGC 2015 beast? And in that same vein, what is your opinion on Reckless Emboar and Shell Armor Samurott? So we'll start with the Superior. Modest, Timid, what are we talking about? Is it going to be useful?
I think it needs to be timid. It needs to be able to outspeed stuff like Terrakion and other stuff. I mean, you don't really need the extra power because you're going to be Leaf Storming the whole time. And so your special attack is going to get boosted anyway. So I think it's important to have the speed.
So unless that first Leaf Storm was really going to KO something hugely scary to your team that Timid won't, it's probably better to go for that speed because you got that self-boosting move. What about Reckless Emboar or Shell Armor Samurott? With a straight face, please.
I've actually used Reckless Emboar.
He'll use anything.
It's actually... I used Scarf Reckless Emboar to one-shot, like, the Genies and Charizard with Head Smash. I don't know if you even know it got that.
What is that, 80 accuracy?
It's strong, that's what it is.
That's 80, okay. It might be like, 80 accuracy.
It's just really strong. I think it has the potential. I don't think it's great. And don't use Shell Armor Samurai. Ever.
Wet Deagle, man.
Please
Wet
don't ever
Deagle.
use-
Thank you so much for your question, Matthew. Moving on, Trent comes to us with a great question in how do you balance your schoolwork and your Pokemon play? Woo! I always try to, but always end up too focused on one whilst forgetting the other. Personally, I'm not a great person to ask about this.
Stay in
because
school. Focus on school.
Pokemon is fun, but remember, school and friends comes first.
Pokemon is fun, but school and work comes first.
In the wise words of my man Marcus Stratner, German national champion, I ended up playing Pokemon in almost every single class I took in college.
He was bad.
It was bad. I mean, we used to go to econ class and we would just like showdown and be like, oh, like maybe we should take some notes and be like, but this thing's really cool right now.
Yeah.
No matter how much you practice, the game's never gonna owe you anything. If you're the person who's practiced the most out there in the whole world, it doesn't mean that you deserve a win. So always keep that in mind. So if you go and dedicate all of your time to Pokemon, you're not going to be guaranteed, a championship win. However, regional champion, national champion, we played a lot. Does it increase your odds?
It helps to an extent.
Yeah. So Pokemon is fun.
But school and work comes first.
That was my bad German accent, German speaking English accent.
That wasn't an accent at all.
Thank you, Trent. Stay in school.
Yeah.
Jacob asks, what is the single strangest set that you have ever fought against? Win or loss doesn't matter.
Oh, jeez.
The champion of weird shit.
Oh, I remember we were going to use this. Custat Bastiodon.
Oh god, that was bad. But it won. We were playing each other. Yeah,
I built a team. I used Custat Bastion. It came down to a scenario where I think he had like a Mega Venusaur and a Ludicolo. Literally the only way I could win is if he hit me, I Metal Bursted, and then on the next turn I had to activate my Custat Berry, Ice Beam him, and freeze him on the same turn while critting the other Pokemon with my partner, and that's exactly what happened.
Because Custat Berry, once you're into like yellowish or what, 25%, you get to go first in your speed tier. So his freaking 7-speed Bastiodon fucking eats his berry, freezes me, and then I just sat there, I was like, oh.
To be fair, I called it in the chat.
He definitely called it ahead of time, and I was like, there is no freaking way this is even possible.
He didn't even think I had Custat.
I don't even think I had Custat Berry. I thought it was just complete fluff. Like, nah, this is my only way. And I was like, yeah, sure. Good job, Bastiodon user. You suck. Yeah, that was embarrassing. That sucked.
That was strong.
I still haven't lived that one down.
Bastiodon had its day in the sun.
Next up, Jake asks, how often, if ever, do you go look at raw data, moves, stats, etc., without people's strategies attached to try and figure out your own ways to use said poke? My curiosity streams from Pachirisu. It seems like he would have had to figure that out randomly by noticing that kind of stuff.
Whenever I look at weird Pokemon like Pachirisu or like
Primeape,
or like Primeape, there's always some kind of niche that I see that it has that I want to abuse. So like Pachirisu, it had Follow Me and Electric Support, and that was obviously for his Gyarados. And Primeape has Defiant, and it outspeeds Scarf Landorus, and you can get a boost from attack. I mean, there's always got to be something. You can't just... It's really difficult to just look at a Pokemon and be like, I want to use this because it's cool. I mean, that works sometimes.
That doesn't work.
It works sometimes, but
1%.
I mean, it's got to have something that it does, like something you can bring to like any scenario. That's why Pachirisu was pretty good, because you could bring it to a lot of different scenarios. Probably maybe not in the same tier as that, but
we were in his room. His team had a trouble dealing with Scarf Landorus, so we're like, what beats Scarf Landorus? Well, okay, a faster Scarf user that can one-shot it. And then we're like, well, you can't use a physical because you're going to get intimidated. But, okay, what stops Intimidate? Well, Defiant. So we went to look up a list of Defiant users that had a speed higher than Landorus.
yeah.
Lo and behold, the monkey came out, and we were like, will this get the one-shot? So we went to Damage Calc It. It does. We used it. Then you got to see it used on the show.
Yep.
For a bit, and you saw punch some stuff, and yeah, that's how that comes around. So it has to have a reason. Well, it doesn't have to, but then good luck. Because if you just toss on Shell Armor Samurott, please play
You're
against
gonna
me.
have a bad time.
Not that that never works. It just doesn't work very, very often. Finally, last question of the week, and I'm sorry if we didn't get to your question, guys. I only have time for about 10 of these, so. But if I'm still going through the mailbox, so yeah. But yeah, last question for the week. PK Bren 12 asks, what was your first Pokemon game you ever played? And I attached this with someone else's question so we could answer both. Baybren adds, what was your first ever starter? First game, first starter.
Red version, Charmander.
Whoa, that was classic.
Had to.
Blue version, Squirtle.
Wow.
Forever enemies.
At
At least nobody chose Bulbasaur. Am I right? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. You guys who pick Bulbasaur, if there's a lot of you, I'm sorry. If there's only like one of you and I can afford to piss you off,
There is only one.
Then F you, Bulbasaur guy.
Yeah, Bulbasaur.
Yeah. So yeah, guys, thanks so much for tuning in this week to this week's mailbox. Yeah, and if you have any more questions, the mailbox, I got the link down there, like right there, like right here. And yeah, that's about it. If you guys VGC questions, personal life questions, some people write weird poems.
Ooh, haiku.
That was pretty nice. Yeah, anything goes. And this is just like a way for us to be more personal because there's a lot of you. And there's one of me, two of me. He's also Alex. So yeah, so this is a great way to interact if I don't otherwise am able to see your question. I try to answer a lot of the comments, but there's so many. So yeah, that's about it. Anything you want to add?
Nope.
Thanks for being here, Stuff. Thanks for all of your additions, and that's a wrap.